We went to the Frontier Culture Museum located in Stanton, Virginia. Our topic for this project was clothing. We visited each exhibit and discussed, asked questions, and compared and contrasted the clothing they wore during different time periods and regions. This content relates to the Virginia SOL VS.4. The student will demonstrate knowledge of life in the Virginia colony by describing how the culture of the colonial Virginia reflected the origins of European English, Scots-Irish, German immigrants, Africans, and American Indian. Our first stop was to the English farm, where we were able to see a woman dressed in the 1600s. She wore a coif. A coif is worn over her head so she does not have to wash her hair as often, and also to keep away bugs and lice. She is also wearing a shift, which is a base coat, also known as her underwear. She wears layers of petticoats and an apron to keep the petticoats cleaner. She works in the farms, so she wears boots to protect her feet. She also wears a stays, which provides back support and chest support. It is considered to be an early corset. She also wears a lace collar to cover her chest. England is known for their wool, and they are possessive of the industry. They are known for heavy and light wool.
Our second stop was to the Irish farm during the 1700s. Here we met Jerry, an Irish farmer. Jerry wore linen, cotton, stockings, and a waistcoat. During this time period, many of their clothing was handmade, but it was also bought at markets and vendors. Inside Jerry's house, he had a loom. A loom is used to weave clothing. Jerry mentioned how during this time period, it was fairly colder than our summers today. He said it stayed about 55 to 60 degrees year-round. Because of this, the men wore hats year-round to keep their heads warm. Under their waistcoat, they wore a long-sleeved white shirt that was used for their sleeping garment as well. We asked Jerry how many times they would wash their clothing a week and how many outfits he had. He said that they only had about 2 or 3 outfits and how it took about 3 to 4 days to wash their clothes. This was difficult because they needed to wash clothes when it was not raining. However, it rained between 200 to 240 days a year.
Our third stop was Germany during the late 1700s. Here we met a male farmer. He wore wood shoes for working in the garden to keep his feet dry and clean and from preventing animals stepping on his feet. He said how during this time they mainly wore linen. They did not have sheep, so they had very little wool. They grew flax, which was spun into linen. He wears a white shirt under his coat, which is considered his underwear. This is like what Jerry wore in the Ireland exhibit. He wears pants folded at his knees and uses a gardener to keep them from coming undone. He also wears a kerchief around his neck for style and to soak up sweat when he is working on the farm. He told us how women wore full dresses with an apron. He said that they only had 2 full sets of clothing and they tried to wash their clothing 3 times a year.
Our fourth stop was 1700 West Africa. During this time period, they wore very little clothing. They lived in a tropical rainforest, therefore it was very hot. The children wore no clothing up until they hit puberty between the ages of 16 and 17. At this time, the women wore a string of beads around their waist to show that they were an eligible bachelorette. Both men and women began wearing waist straps made out of goatskin or cotton.
Our last stop was America during the 1800s. Many women wore cotton fabrics because they were cheap, since they were made in America. However, in the winter, women mostly wore wool attire, and they would also wear their husband's sack coat when they were working on the farm. The women would also wear bonnets to keep their skin fair. The women wanted to appear pale to look as if they did not work outside because they wanted to appear wealthier and not as working women. In this picture, the woman is not wearing a hat because it wasn't necessary during this time period. However, women still had to wear their hair pinned up because they were considered easy if they wore their hair down. Most women wore aprons, and later on in the 1800s, they would wear their aprons pinned on their chests. Therefore, they were able to keep their clothing clean, and if they wanted to, they were able to unpin their apron when they were not working. Women would have 6 to 7 aprons. Their dress design had corsets to make their hips appear larger and their waist to appear thinner. Corsets were also known as the foundation garment because it would provide back and chest support when working. This was the style during this time period. She also mentioned how they wore a lot of petticoats under their dress to help the appearance of their hips.
Thank you for watching our video.